Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Curiository live stream. Thanks for being here. I see that there are some of you in the chat, some of you still coming over from Facebook or whatever. To explain the idea behind doing this, I really want this channel to be more than just me occasionally making videos. I want it to be a community where the videos are conversation starters for a grander discussion we have about things that make us curious about the world, about each other, and about ourselves. So this live stream, I think, will be an integral part of that going into the future. I'm thinking after I put out a video, the next day we'll have a live stream like this that's just sort of an open discussion about the topic of the video, about the community, or about the channel. Cool. So this week I didn't put out a video. I had one written, I was editing one, and I just wasn't happy with the final product. It wasn't up to the standards I hold myself to, but more importantly, I don't think it was of the quality that my patrons on Patreon, the people that make these videos possible, would expect. So today we're just going to do a light Q&A style live stream over the next half hour, and while we do that, I'm going to show you a little behind the scenes of the script I'm working on for the video on cryptocurrencies, or I guess the rewrite for the script I'm doing on cryptocurrencies. But before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping. First, if you're a patron on Patreon and you're joining us in the live stream, thank you so much. And be sure to check over on Patreon after this public part of the stream is over for the second half, which is the private patrons only stream, where we'll talk shop more, and I'll tell you why you don't have your t-shirts yet. And if you're not a patron, but you want to support the show and get access to that private live stream, head on over to patreon.com/Curiository for as little as $1 video. You get access to some fun perks, including that private stream. Cool. So let's get into it. If you are watching, which, let's see how many there are. Wow, 7 people. So, all right, that's quite the crowd. Put something in the chat. If you feel comfortable, introduce yourself. If you have a question about the channel, about the process, let me know. So I'm gonna switch over to. Oh wait, I'm gonna get this set up. Sorry, I'm using real streaming software because I wanted to feel professional. But we're gonna do a fun transition over here. Oh yeah, now I'm in the bottom corner of your screen, and you can see the current script that I'm working on, and I can walk you through a little bit of my process. So if you haven't picked up, or I haven't explained it or done my job well enough, all of the videos on Curiository are built on this idea of head fake learning. So you're learning something abstract, a really nuanced idea, through something very concrete. So with the example of the video I did on how to take better pictures on Instagram, you were learning about that. You were learning about rule of thirds and the golden ratio. But more importantly, you hopefully were learning this idea that math can be used as an artistic tool, and math doesn't have to be something that's scary and daunting. It can be something really beautiful. With the example of the video I just put out that people really enjoyed, thank you so much if you watched the video I did on overtones. You were learning about music, you were learning about how instruments make sound, but you were hopefully also learning how to work with other people and be part of something bigger than yourself. And I think that's an important lesson we need to learn in our current political climate. So this video that I'm working on right now is on cryptocurrencies. And for the past 3 weeks, I've been doing research trying to understand how cryptocurrencies work. And I was racking my brain trying to come up with that head fake, with that overarching idea, the why is this important? And I really, also, if you can hear me and like all that stuff, I just want to make sure the stream is working. So if you want to put something in the chat or whatever, just so I can see you and know that this is working and I'm not just crazy talking to myself. But I was racking my brain trying to come up with a head fake for this idea of cryptocurrencies, or like how cryptocurrencies work and why they're important. and I really couldn't come up with one. At least I couldn't come up with a good one. Like, I try to be very profound, and I couldn't come up with that profound idea. So I shot the video, I was editing it, and I just wasn't happy with the product. And so I took some more time. I took another week to really delve into the topic and see, based on current events, based on what's happening in the world, what's important with this idea. And the thing I came up with was, I was actually listening to a podcast from another YouTuber I love to watch. He's a big inspiration for me. And if you don't subscribe, go subscribe to him. His channel is Smarter Every Day. His name is Destin Sandlin, I think. I think that's his last name. Oh, thank you everyone for saying you can hear me. Thanks, Lizzie. Lizzie, also, it's great to see you in the chat. I miss you. Okay, so Destin Sandlin he does a podcast called No Dumb Questions, and in No Dumb Questions, that's basically it. They just talk about, him and one of his friends just talk about kind of whatever they want. There are no dumb questions, and the thing that they decided to talk about was gun control. And Destin is from Alabama, and so he is a relatively conservative guy, just based on the culture he. That's him identifying as that. I'm not putting anything on him. But you can also tell from his channel that he is kind of a gun enthusiast, right? He's very safe. He does all of the right things to do, but he does like to own and use guns. He does a lot of science of firearms, using firearms. And so he was talking about they were talking about their perspectives on gun control. And as a relatively liberal individual, which I know I am, I'm the stereotypical hippie college student. I have the hipster glasses and everything. But I was listening to that podcast and really thinking that this was me viewing this debate, something that I feel very strongly about, from the other side. And an entire hour-long conversation where all I got to do was listen, right? And it's from somebody I really respect and really like. And it was very enlightening to me to hear a lot of his points, because he talked about how guns to him are about protection, right? It's about protecting your family. It's about protecting, for him, it's also a lot about protecting against animals that live around his area. But they hit on this topic I had never really thought about or understood, which was the idea that the reason that we can own guns in America is because our founding fathers wrote the Second Amendment with the idea that our government could become the I don't want to exactly say corrupt, but the oppressive government that they fought against. It was this weird self-reflection foresight that they wanted to have. And so they put in the Second Amendment the right to bear arms, and what they were saying is it's the right to bear arms against the government if the government ever gets to be oppressive towards the people. And that was very interesting to me, because I don't believe that would happen that much, right? Like, I think they did a pretty good job of having checks and balances, having the different branches of government to hi Lizzie, to make sure that things run smoothly, and that no one person can achieve that ultimate power, or no one party could achieve that ultimate power. But Destin and his friend, who I can't remember the name of, I'm sorry if you ever watch this, which you probably won't, but I feel bad. They were talking about how they do believe that might happen, and that is something that they feel people should be able to protect against. But there's also this overarching line of like how much power is, how much firepower is too much, because if anybody was going to try to overthrow the government, they would deal with a lot of military power against them. So it was just a very interesting thing that I had never thought about, aside of the story of the debate that I had never really understood. And so I wanted to try to connect that with the idea of cryptocurrencies, because the idea of cryptocurrencies is, are you economically protected by the financial institution that controls your currency? All right, hang on. Let me take a step back here. So there are two types of currencies from how I understand it: centralized currencies and decentralized currencies. Centralized currencies are ones where there is one central authority that controls transactional flow, controls inflation, but they also have a lot of economic power condensed into one entity. A decentralized currency attempts to distribute that power to the people using the currency. And it's kind of like what we used to do before we had central authorities. There was just that was just how it was, right? Like we just moved from bartering to all believing in this one idea of an object that had an inherent value. And so the reason that cryptocurrencies are on the rise is because of stuff like the housing crisis in 2007. That's kind of where all of this kind of started. Is people believe that the government is sometimes not fit to protect their individuals, and so with the idea of the Federal Reserve, they're supposed to protect people in terms of financial stability. Which is very similar to the idea that the government has to protect people against physical harm. And so just like we have an idea that maybe we won't be able to trust the government to protect us from harm, and maybe they'll be harming us, so we need to have the ability to bear arms, cryptocurrencies are built off the idea that the people should have control over their own financial stability and financial protection. So that is the head fake we're going to try to go for, is learning about that other side of the gun control debate through an example of cryptocurrencies, where people have this sense of distrust in the government and want to bring the power back to the people. So how I go about trying to distill all that in a 5-minute video is I start off with a statement like this, like, why is it important to understand cryptocurrencies? And then I try to answer it in like one sentence or two sentences. And the one I came up with before I started writing was because it shows that some people don't trust the government to control aspects of their lives. They want power to rest with the people. And then this isn't supposed to be here, but that's funny. Okay, so then an outline of the video. This is how I do. This is how I start all of my scripts. So I pose a question. On that note of sorry, I'm just checking the chat. I should probably be better about like not stopping mid-conversation to do that. I'm like, when does a government become corrupt to you? Sorry, this is a bad time to open questions like this. No, Justin, this isn't a bad time, and thanks for being here. Okay, so when do I think something becomes corrupt to me? I think, God, that's a hard one to, I guess, to make brief, especially I haven't really thought about it. But my initial thought, I guess, is that if our government starts performing actions and doing things for the good of the government instead of the good of the people, I feel like that's corrupt. And an example of this that I'm going to try to throw into the video is the Venezuelan government. So if you don't know, and don't feel bad because I didn't know until I started researching this video, the people of Venezuela are experiencing severe poverty, and it's because of a lack of kind of economic diversification by just like how their economy is structured. They are very oil reliant because they have a lot of oil reserves, which made them rather wealthy. But as oil prices dropped, they were hit really hard by that. And it was especially hard for them because Chavez, the president or prime minister, I'm not sure. That's why I write all my stuff down and speak from a script, because I'm not good off the cuff. But he instilled a lot of public service programs that focused on giving people great health care, great benefits, but that costs a lot for the government to provide. And so when you're so reliant on oil, if oil prices go down, and thus your like the profit of your government and your economy decreases so significantly, and you have such high costs, you go into debt and into a huge deficit really fast. And that's what happened to Venezuela. And to counteract that severe freefall of the stability of the bolivar, their currency, the government decided to make more currency as a way to keep, I guess, paying off debts or whatever. But that caused like severe overinflation, obviously, because as your currency is devaluing, if you're printing more, you're just devaluing your currency further. It's just that's supply and demand. And so that was really bad for the people of Venezuela. And I invite you to look up some articles because it is really bad. But what was worse is the government saw that this was happening and decided to make basically like two exchange rates. One exchange rate was what the actual bolivar was worth, which currently I believe is like 237,000 to $1. And the other exchange rate was available only for government officials and for government spending, and that was 10 bolivars to $1. So the people in the government and the government itself were, I don't want to say benefiting, because I don't, benefit of the doubt with people, but they were gaining wealth by converting their currency and exchanging their currency for something like the US dollar or the euro or some higher value thing, while their people didn't have access to that exchange rate, and also were starving and couldn't afford food. So I feel like that's when governments become corrupt, is when they start doing things for the benefits of themselves versus the benefits of the people. Thanks for asking that question, Justin. That was actually a very good segue to something I wanted to talk about. Okay, so with the outline, if anybody else has questions or whatever, or you want to see something about the process that hopefully doesn't involve like editing software or animation stuff, because I don't have any of that loaded on this computer. But I can answer questions about that stuff. So so we pose the question and then we hint at this head fake. So give me the backstory. So the thing I'm talking about here is like the idea that money is made up. Like that's a fundamental thing we need to understand, is that money is only built on a sense of societal trust. If we wanted to use Nivea lip balm as our new currency, all I have to do is find a group of people who want to believe in Nivea lip balm and believe that this is worth something so that we can exchange it for other goods and services. And that works really well if no one cheats. So no one prints new money, prints their own money, or no one steals or tries to gain the money or the value that somebody else has. And obviously people did do that. And so businesses, which they're really called banks, were built to provide economic security. And so rather than trusting everyone to follow the rules, you just trust the institution to enforce them and protect you. But everybody screws up. And it's just that when that happens, you get stuff like the 2007 housing crisis or the Great Depression or the Panic of 1907, which that stock market crash there, that bank crash, was actually what started the Federal Reserve. Is everyone saw that, man, we need a central authority that is backed by the government rather than these banks to make sure that everybody follows the rules. And so out of that 2007 housing crisis, a bunch of computer scientists felt they could find a better way, and that better way was cryptocurrencies. And then this is the thing I'm working on now. I stopped outlining it because it just gets very complicated. Like if you've ever tried to look up other videos or even articles that delve into how cryptocurrencies work, a lot of them just dive off the deep end of how public-private key encryption works, and like how the blockchain or public ledger is updated by all of the miners and everything. Like and they always show like ones and zeros, and like there's that ridiculous background where it's like the Matrix looking thing. And I think it for me, and I'm a computer science major, but it makes it a lot more difficult to understand, because it's like those videos show off that it's complicated to try to dissuade you from learning it, or like to, I don't know, make you feel like the topic is, I don't know, but it just annoys me. And it's hard to understand when you want to write a simple 5-minute video about cryptocurrencies. Like John Oliver, I don't know if any of you saw this, but John Oliver of Last Week Tonight put out an entire like 25-minute piece on cryptocurrencies, and he didn't even have to go into any of the specifics, like the technical specifics. He just talked about the effects and what it's like and all that stuff, and that was 25 minutes. Yeah, so this one is the part I'm working on now, and I'll show you a little bit of the actual paragraph by paragraph script later on, but that explanation is what I'm working on now. And then the last thing is trying to connect it back to the head fake. That's when I usually make the music rise, and then like all of a sudden it stops like right at the end when I try to say that profound sentence. And then yeah, so that's how I outline my videos. And then once I feel like I have a good handle on the outline, or I've given up trying to outline it like this and I just want to start writing it, then I start writing the real script. And something that I would recommend, something that I've learned from doing this a couple times now, just if you're going to write a video, you're going to write a script for anything, just like write everything. So like write a stream of consciousness, like blow through everything. And then once you're done doing that, you can always go back and edit, but it's better to have something to work off of than nothing, right? That you have to come up with it out of your head. Cool. So I don't know if it'd be interesting for me to read this to you, because that just seems ridiculous. But if anybody has any questions or wants to know any other aspects of this process, or wants to talk about cryptocurrencies or anything like that, please leave your questions in the chat box and we'll go through them. So, what does everybody want to do? Oh my gosh, actually we're at 21 minutes. That's crazy. Okay, so definitely ask your questions, because the public part of this stream ends in 8 minutes. So Lizzie, Kathan, Mungo Dude, Justin, I don't know if you can get the link for the private stream or not, but if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, I guess we just hang out here, or I guess I could read this to you. Also, if you want to start making videos or whatever, I don't know if anybody out there wants to do that. And if you're wondering like why I start videos with like, hi, my name is Drew Lytle, I want to tell you a story. I know that there, I think in my channel trailer or something like that, I say that's because that's my overarching goal. I like to tell stories. I love telling stories, so that's how I want to start my videos. But really, this is also something I stole from the Vlog Brothers, who, if you don't watch them, you should watch them. They're like the kings. I think they're called like the fun uncles of YouTube now, but to me, they're still the kings. And they liked to start their videos with like, hello, Hank, like it's Friday, or hello, John, it's like what, Monday or whatever. And it's because they could always start their script with something tangible. They never had to look at a blank page. And so that's what I like to do too. Faith Surrey, what other channels on YouTube do you look up? How do you think you're similar? What do you want to do differently? Oh, wow, that's actually a great question, Faith. Actually, I think I'll just take you to my YouTube subscriptions, which this might be bad, but it also might be great. Yeah, so I'm logged in as my personal channel right now, so I can show you that over what Curiository is subscribed to, because that's mostly just educational stuff. So a majority of these channels that I subscribe to are actually from the Vlog Brothers, who, this is John Green right here. I know I don't mean to criticize them, because they are basically the reason I'm here, but they have terrible thumbnails. Even though they're really good at making videos. So they run a media company called Complexly, and Complexly I can actually show you. They make a bunch of shows that I like, including Crash Course and SciShow, if you've ever seen those. Our shows, do they not have like a whole page? I guess not. Can I zoom in here? Hello? I don't know. I thought I could zoom in on Windows, but I guess I can't. So yeah, they do SciShow, Crash Course, Eons, which is a new show. That one's really good. Mental Floss is really good. That's a very diverse, just very short videos that kind of like how I do actually, but more just talking about the subject and leaving it there. So that one's good. Financial Diet's really good. If you are a college student or just anyone that's about to live on your own and need to know how to do financial stuff, Financial Diet is really good. It's hosted by, I think it's 2 women, but mostly only one of them uploads. And they have some great stuff, how to travel abroad on a serious budget, stuff like that. I will say, like, I subscribe to a lot of people on YouTube, and not all of them are, like, educational stuff. I guess, like, all of them are kind of educational, but to try to to condense, like, my YouTube taste into one thing, I think this is true of everybody, too. It's very difficult. A lot of tech YouTubers, so people like MKBHD, or this is Jonathan Morrison, they're really good. The Verge is really good. They do some really cool in-depth analysis, just like MKBHD. If you're going to watch a tech YouTuber and you want to know like the future of technology, you should watch MKBHD. Peter McKinnon is my go-to vlogger of choice. He just has some very cinematic stuff and also does some great photo and video tips if you ever want to go into that or just like learn a little bit about how to make your Instagrams or whatever better. Who else do I want to talk to? Mike Boyd. Okay, so I'm gonna mute, so that I can actually click on his video. So Mike Boyd is a relatively new YouTuber, and he basically tries to learn things very, very quickly within like and he just like times himself like how long it takes him to learn a new skill. So he did one on skiing, which was really good, like, and his production quality has gotten so good over the past year. It's been awesome to watch him and his channel grow. And if you just want to see like a fun Irish guy freak out after he learns a new skill, watch Mike Boyd. Okay, I could talk about YouTube for forever, so I'll try to look at some other questions. Have you heard about the electrical consumption of cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin? Yes. So that is actually one of the things I'm going to talk about at the end of the video, because, nothing is a catch-all. Nothing solves all of the problems. And so one of the things with cryptocurrencies is it takes a long time to verify transactions. So they use a very kind of complicated encryption scheme to verify how transactions are made, and it takes a long time and a lot of computational power. It could take up to 16 hours to verify like a block of transactions. And so that causes a lot of electrical consumption. I think there's the statistic that in terms of like kilowatt hours or whatever, to do the same amount of transactions, Bitcoin takes 100 times the electricity that something like Visa would. So that's a great point, the PomPom 624. And that's definitely something that I'll try to talk about in the video. This is from my dad. How do you decide what portions of the story to tell using graphics? So that's a great question. It's really just if I can visualize it in my head. So stuff like this, like, so this paragraph is all about the backstory. So thousands of years ago when we still use bartering system, like you can look at this paragraph, it's very visual. But if I'm going to say something that's more commentary on the issue or on I don't want to say issue, but if it's commentary on the thing we're talking about, such as, this is the foundational idea of cryptocurrencies. Rather than relying on the government or a central authority for financial protection, the people using the currency regulate their own system. That's not something that I can easily visualize, and so it's going to be something that's really going to rack my brain on a way to draw it. And so that's usually how I pick what to make graphics and what not to make graphics. Do you want to make curiosity videos your career, or do you have other plans for the future? And how does the curiosity fit into those plans? Hitting the hard ones, Lizzie. So I did just accept an internship over the summer doing videos, educational videos. And so the reason I say that is if they're watching, I don't want them to feel like I'm just gonna, take it and run with something else, and like something else is like my dream or whatever. But I do want making educational videos and making educational content to be a big part of what I do in the future. I do have plans to make other shows, other styles of video, and also different topics to delve further into than what I can do just on Curiository. I also really like working with other people, and this is a project where I'm kind of just working on my own the whole time. So growing that aspect, growing the people, that would be awesome. Yeah, same thing with your question, Evie, on what are my personal goals for the channel. If you're talking tangible goals, tangible goal would definitely be getting this channel to 5,000 subscribers by the beginning of January 2019. That is one that I really want to focus on. Yes, because I think that what we do here and what we're growing here is very cool to me. And how I'm trying to go about telling stories, I would really like to get more feedback and to get more people involved. So that is definitely a tangible personal goal. Adam, Stevie, oh my gosh, hello. Thanks for watching. That's crazy. Wow. Lots of people that kind of you haven't talked to in forever, and then you do a live stream and then you see them. Okay, so that was 30 minutes. That's crazy to me. I might make these longer in the future, but that ends the public part of our live stream. I am sad to say. So we are actually going to end it here and then continue it over in the patrons only stream. So people on Patreon, or patrons on Patreon, definitely look for the link because it's not over. But thank you all so much for participating. I think this was a success. Please leave in the comments or whatever if you want me to do anything different or have any feedback. Yeah, thanks for joining me. All right, so patrons, I'll see you in the after show. And everybody else, thanks for watching. And if you want to join us over on Patreon, that'd be awesome. Okay, thanks. Bye.